Today, and with the first pick, Rick, we're joined by Pete Prisco here at the Indianapolis Combine.
Some real draft information on the show.
We're going to learn something here. So we're going to be talking about Caleb Williams and the Bears at the top, what they should do. We know Rick's a big stickler about participating, so the top quarterbacks aren't participating. We'll talk about that as well. But, Rick, before we get going, there's a little thing we like to do here. Tell Pete how many days until the NFL draft.
Pete, there are 58 days, although we don't have our sign behind us, until the 2024 NFL draft.
Can't wait.
So, Pete, I think we asked you this last year at the Combine, but let's just for the kids at home. What was your first draft?
Covering the draft?
Yeah, first year.
Probably 90.
Okay, that's when Rick got started too.
89, but first time, not the first time I was here. The first time I came here was probably 93, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, things have changed a little bit.
The first time I remember the draft.
On the radio?
1967, it was on the radio. That's how they announced the picks. It was on a Tuesday. And when I was in college at Arizona State, we cut class because it was on a Tuesday, and we had breakfast with the draft. It was like it because it was early in the morning. Because remember, it was on a Tuesday back in the day. You don't remember that?
No, I don't. I was way younger than you.
Huh? No, you're not.
Yeah.
And you know what? You just weren't a football fan. You were probably playing with your G.I. Joes or something. I was 7 years old figuring out about the draft, and you were playing with G.I. Joes.
Rick's talked about this on the podcast before, but his first job here at the Combine in 1990, I believe, he was basically the bouncer that walked the players from wherever they were the interview to get to his team. So you had to fight to get the player to the team to interview them.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to pick a meathead to do that job, so it makes all the sense in the world.
I was also the official 10-timer before the electronic clock was invented.
Bite your tongue. So you would actually have the handheld.
At the 10-yard line?
Yeah.
All right.
That one guy who did it for years, the 40 time, he was a scout for the Steelers. He did it for
Mark Gorsuch.
Yeah, he did it for
we
years.
got promoted to the starter.
Yeah, and then you were the 40. You were the 10.
I got up to the 10s, the 20s, and the 40s.
Oh, there you go. And now you're.
And now look at you.
Now look at me. I'm out of a job and working.
Now you're doing a draft podcast.
All right, let's talk about.
Oh, have a mighty have fallen.
Yeah, we don't like to talk. Don't dwell on it. He gets misty-eyed and it becomes the whole thing. All right, let's talk about some burning combine questions here. Pete, you're the guest. We'll come to you first. And we were supposed to do a segment on this, but we ran short on time earlier today, so we can talk about it here. What do the Bears do with the number one pick, and what conversation should they be having here in Indianapolis? Second year in a row they have the number one pick, this time because of the Bryce Young trade that you love so much. What should they do? They have Justin Fields one more year.
They should explore all options with the pick, all options with Justin Fields, and whatever you feel best about is what you should do. And by that I mean, I threw out this scenario today. Trade down to 2. Get extra picks, and draft Jaden Daniels.
Rick, are you okay with Jaden Daniels at 2?
And then if you want to get rid of Justin Fields, you get rid of Justin Fields too.
No, I'm not okay with Jaden Daniels at 2 because he's not throwing at the Combine. Well, neither is Drake May.
But neither is Caleb Williams.
So how are you supposed to change your opinion on these guys?
Who's changing your opinion? How do you know that's not their opinion?
I think it's Drake May is the number 2 quarterback in this draft
Well, that's
class.
what you think.
Yeah, but what I think.
Are you making a pick in this draft?
Who?
You.
Yeah, I'm going with Caleb Williams. I think he's a generational quarterback. Yeah. He has an opportunity for the Chicago Bears to have a quarterback for the next 4 years at $45 million total. Instead, if you keep Justin Fields, you're going to have to give him a contract extension.
I get that. I get that. But in my scenario, they're not keeping Justin Fields.
We all agree on that part. We all actually, not to spoil the...
In my scenario, you trade down and still get rid of Justin Fields, but you draft Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, but if Ryan Poles is saying that I want a king's ransom, who's going to give a king's ransom?
Well, okay, you have Cliff Kingsbury in Washington.
But how do you know if he likes him or not likes him?
He coached him. If he's what you think he is, he better like him.
Well, I don't know if he likes him or not.
Okay, well, you think he's the next Patrick Mahomes, you've called him, haven't you?
I've called him a lot of things.
Well, but I mean...
better than Andrew Luck is one of the things.
Better than Andrew Luck.
I did think that coming out, yes.
And you still believe that?
Yes, I do.
Oh, I don't. I don't at all.
You've got to learn the game. Let me ask you this, though.
You guys have enamored with him way too much, just like you were last year with a certain other number one pick.
Pete, right?
Huh?
You can't win without a quarterback.
Oh, I agree with that 100%.
Okay, so you got to roll the dice on that.
Okay, but if you move down and get extra picks and you take Jaden Daniels...
No, that's an ideal scenario. I'm not going to argue with that.
Right. You would do that.
Yeah, but if I...
Because there's not that much difference between the two of them.
Well, if I think there is, then just take the guy and go.
Okay, but if you think he's Patrick Mahomes, then you take him. If you think he's going to be a really good quarterback and there's a chance Jaden Daniels can be a really good quarterback and you think they're both close, you take the picks and you move down.
If someone's willing to trade.
There's going to be a ton of guys, right?
No, you don't know that.
Possibly Washington. If you
possibly,
could do that.
yeah. Possibly New England, possibly Atlanta, possibly anybody else.
Minnesota, Denver.
But if you move down
Las
to Atlanta
Vegas.
spot, you're not getting Jaden Daniels.
No, you're not.
If you go to Washington spot and they want Caleb Williams, you get Jaden Daniels.
So you talk about Atlanta. Let me ask you this: Atlanta.
Why do
picks-
you hate that scenario? It's a great trade for the Bears.
Because you're playing fantasy land football.
Well, that's what you think a mock draft and speculation is. That's
doesn't
all
do
it
mock
is.
draft.
Yeah, it's
right.
just speculation, but it's not reality.
Okay,
All right.
what's reality?
Reality is take Caleb Williams, move on with your life.
All right, let me ask you this, Pete, because Rick and I talked this to death. You mentioned the Falcons at 8. If you were Ryan Poles and you are moving on from Justin Fields, what is the best landing spot? It sounds like the Steelers aren't interested. They should be, in my mind, for Justin Fields. But it's Pittsburgh, Atlanta. Why is that better than Pittsburgh?
Well, Atlanta's the best. Well, it's best for the kid too. He's from Atlanta area. I think it would make sense. They have a lot of talent on that team. I mean, look, the Steelers have some talent too. They have some offensive talent. You have the running back who they drafted too high, but you still have him.
Geez.
You have the young wide receiver. You have a tight end who hasn't produced like you thought he would. Top 10 tight end. So there is talent there. So I think that's a good spot for him.
And you can go in and play indoors most of your games, all your home games, plus New Orleans.
Be faster on that. He'd be faster.
And you
It's
imagine
not very
him
good.
in that division and with his speed and playing indoors. And I do think he's one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL.
What do you get for him?
I think you get
2
a
and a
second
4.
plus.
Okay, so if you make that deal,
Yep.
and you make the other deal that I talked about, and you get Jaden Daniels, now you have all those picks to build around.
And you still
have the
pick number 9. Yeah.
What? You like me being
He's-
a general manager. He likes my idea.
Coming around on it, but he doesn't.
No, I'm not.
Yes, he
Figuring
is.
out
You know what
how
it
he wants
is?
to say
You know
it.
what it is? He didn't think about it, so he's not going to give me credit for it.
No, I've never done a trade in my entire life as
Well,
a general manager.
Well, you did. Howie Roseman was here, and he fleeced you once before. He probably fleeced you this. He probably took your shoes today.
You know what the Vikings fans would say about Rick? Tell him about your mom and.
Yeah, if I can get a 7th round pick for my mom, I would trade her.
Well, if you got someone who can play, maybe you would have.
The COVID draft, you had like 50 picks, right? You had a ton of picks that
Yeah,
year.
but there was a
You're-
reason for that.
but
I get
you're,
it, but you had a ton of picks.
Your mom's a good cook. You don't trade her.
Yeah, well, everything's up.
Everything's on the
discussion.
table.
Everything's on the table.
All right, Rick, I'll start with you because this is your bread and butter. I don't know why you're so gung-ho. I do know why, but just for the sake of conversation. No Caleb throwing, no Drake May throwing, no Jaden Daniels throwing. Bryce didn't throw last year. CJ did. It didn't matter in terms, I don't think at the end of the day, whether they were good or not, but you are gung-ho on guys competing when the ball is rolled out.
Yeah, and I still am. And I still think, especially if Drake May and Jalen Daniels is so close, why wouldn't you come out here and compete and throw the ball? I don't care if they're not accurate. That's not the biggest thing. The biggest thing is you get an opportunity to be in front of all 32 general managers on national TV, a lot of head coaches. Not all the head coaches are here, but all the head coaches that need a quarterback are probably more than likely here. And you get to see them take dropbacks. You get to see them work play action. You get to see their release. You get to see how quickly and how smoothly the ball comes out of their hands. And it's different when you see it live and then when you see it on tape.
Okay. All right, I'm going to play the other side of that.
Okay.
Okay, because I think Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, particularly with the big arm, should throw here, but it's not going to hurt them if they don't. And you say it could help them. Okay, let's just say, for the argument, J.J. McCarthy will throw here and throws as well as anybody's ever thrown here. Is he going ahead of those guys?
He's going to move up in the draft.
Is he going ahead of those guys?
I don't know that. You don't know that until
Yes,
draft day.
you do.
No, you don't know that.
And Rick Spielman's stacked board.
He's behind him. He's my quarterback number 4.
If he throws great here, where's
Right.
he go on your board?
Maybe in the top 10.
No, in your quarterback stacked board, he's number 4, right?
He's number 4.
Okay, if he throws unreal here, where does he go?
He'll still probably be number 4.
So then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't matter. It
I'm
doesn't
just talking
matter.
about- yeah, it does matter.
I rest my case.
No, it
counselor.
doesn't, because
Matlock.
Daniels, did he play in the bowl game? No.
Smart
Did he
man.
play at the Senior Bowl? Throw down there? Nope. Why wouldn't you try to jump?
Caleb Williams didn't
Drake
play in
May?
his bowl game, and he didn't play in his Senior Bowl either.
I know. Those are all X's in my opinion.
So you're not pinging him, but you're
I'm pinging them all for not competing.
Hey, Rick, let me ask you this, though, and this is not on the rundown, but I think it's worth talking about. Marvin Harrison isn't here working out. I think he'll meet with teams. He's not even going to do the pro day. He's special. I think you call him a unicorn in terms of being one of the best wide receivers coming out we've seen in a long time. Does any of that bother you?
Here?
He's not doing a pro day either, it sounds like. Marvin.
Yeah, well, we saw him at pro day last year. But
that was it? You had to make it to last year's pro day.
But the thing that disappoints me is, especially the receiver, you'd hope at least you go out there and run a 40. But it seems more and more these kids are the thing that bothers me is you got an opportunity to go out and showcase yourself, and you keep turning it down time after time after time. Why do so if you don't want to play on Sunday, or you want to turn down because, hey, it's the end of my contract, I don't want to go play because I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to play in a bowl game because I don't want to get hurt.
So not running a 40 is the same as not playing in an NFL game?
Yeah, to me.
Well, okay,
so
I'm not.
school.
Let me ask you the Pete Prisco question. Where are you taking Marvin Harrison Jr. if you're picking second and you need a wide receiver?
Well, no, I'm taking Marvin Harrison off the board then.
So it doesn't matter.
It does.
It doesn't matter. The tape matters. Whether you play the game matters.
It does, but it has a bad taste in my mouth.
If Marvin Harrison went at his pro day, runs 4.65.
Okay. Yeah,
Let's just say for the sake, he won't, but he did. Do you drop him down?
Yes.
You do?
I would take Neighbors in ahead of
You
him.
You wouldn't take him second overall.
No, I would take Neighbors.
Well, let me ask you this, Rick, before we take a break. You
So
say
does he
that.
play fast?
Yes.
Marvin Harrison?
Yes, he does.
Okay, so then you put Jerry Rice ran 4.6.
Yeah, no, he's in the Hall of Fame.
Right. So nobody, and like Jerry Rice, I once said that to Jerry Rice. I go, you ran 4.6. He goes, did anybody ever catch me from behind? I said, no.
And you know what we talked a lot about in the fall, Pete, is making sure we don't make the same mistakes we made last year with Brian Branch. You ran a 4.58. He should have been a first rounder. He plays faster than that. So, Rick, you're going back on your word.
No, I'm not. All I'm just saying is that just compete. You get an opportunity to show your case.
Yeah.
Go out and showcase
But
yourself.
not in a bowl game because don't risk your money in a bowl game.
Neighbors did.
Huh?
And you like Neighbors.
I do like Neighbors.
He played in the bowl game.
He shouldn't have played.
He should have played.
He should not have played.
What?
Why do you risk your money?
Why don't you like competitors?
I like competitors. That's not being competitive and being stupid is dumb.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
You know
All
what
right,
that is? That's from the Meathead Manual, by the way.
we'll sort
Be
this out.
competitive. That's right.
We can sit here and do the rest of the podcast on guys shouldn't work out. I'm not changing my mind.
Yeah, I know you're not.
You're healthy, work out.
Okay.
All right. Rick has spoken. All right, Pete, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about which under-the-radar prospects we're most excited to see this week once the players finally get on the field. Those who choose to participate, Rick, right after this. Fine, young men, we're back. Under-the-radar prospects who could burst onto the scene this week. And Rick Pete's guy is a smaller wide receiver. And last year, the Senior Bowl, we had some smaller wide receivers. Had really good weeks. Tank Dell. Who else was there that had good weeks there?
Not his guy, but he didn't have a great week.
But he had a good Demario Douglas.
Demario Douglas was there, who was
had a good
drafted
year.
by the Patriots.
The Patriots had a good year.
And he's hurt all the time.
He wasn't hurt.
Yeah, he
He's
was.
still one
He
of the
missed half
better
the season
receivers.
with
He's still one of the
injury.
better receivers.
He-
But they didn't have any.
Well,
That's true, too.
you didn't
This
like
year,
him.
I didn't.
Tulane's Jaquan Jackson was there. Returner, fantastic returner. But I thought he had a good week. He's not quite Tank Dell. I think, Pete, you're higher on him than maybe I am, but I think he has a chance to be a late day 2. That's too rich for you,
Yeah,
probably.
he's a Saturday guy all the way.
No, he might be a late. He might be a.
No, he's a
he
Saturday
might be
guy all the way.
Early.
No, he's not.
Early
He's
third.
not.
Early day 3.
He might be early third round.
No, third round.
Yeah.
No, he's not going till Saturday.
I don't think he's as good as Tank Dell coming out. Do you
I'll
agree with that?
guarantee you he doesn't go till Saturday.
Well, that's
But
fine.
he's a good player, though.
He's
That's
a good
fine.
player, but he's
That's
not
fine.
going until Saturday.
Let's see what he runs here.
Okay.
We'll
And
see
that's
what
the
he
thing.
runs
If he
here.
runs, and Rick, you'll admit there's been a movement away from getting these guys on day 3, and now they're sneaking into day 2.
Right.
Smaller receivers.
But he's not Tank Dell.
Okay, I agree with that.
So, and he's going to go on Saturday. Now, he may be a good slot receiver.
He's going to be a good slot receiver.
Yeah,
That's what he's
and
going
I
to be.
recognize he does have speed. He's not Tank
He's a
Dell
guy, too,
fast.
though.
Yeah, but he's not going to go until Saturday.
I think he might end up going to the back end of the third round.
Well, okay, the bigger question beyond that, is he productive in year 1, 2, 3?
He'll help a team in a role.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Help a team in a role. I don't think he'd be any more vague if I asked you to. He will help a team.
In a role. He won't be a starter.
I think he'll be a starting slot receiver.
Returner, QB,
At some point during the season.
Returner, wide receiver 4.
Yes, That's a role.
And then he'll be wide receiver 3
And you can
by
play
the
a
end of
lot
the
as a
year.
wide receiver 4, depending.
And he'll
on where
be
you
wide receiver 3 by the end of the year.
Okay, there you go. Mark it down, Debo. Rick, you're going. I mean, you're going to the well with this guy, Austin Booker. You love him almost as much as J.J. McCarthy, the edge rusher out of Kansas.
Yeah, no, I didn't know what to expect until I saw him live down at the Senior Bowl. When you watch him on tape, I love his athleticism. I love his length. He reminded me a lot of D.J. Wanham when we drafted him out of South Carolina. Plays hard, has no idea technically what to do versus the run yet. Still learning how to rush the passer, but when you see this long, athletic kid show up down at the Senior Bowl and be able to rush the passer the way he rushes. He has natural bend. He can get to the quarterback. Some defensive line coach is going to fall in love with all these athletic traits, with all these physical traits, and I think he's going to run fast, that he's got a bright future. And we took a lot of swings on guys that weren't polished yet, but had a lot of natural athletic ability that were long to work with, and they end up being good players for us.
Have you seen Austin Booker yet?
I've watched his games just on. I haven't watched his tape. I watch every college game on there is. But so, where does he go?
I think he got an opportunity to go early in the 3rd round, and he will move up if he has a really good combine this week.
And he went in the 2nd round in a 2-round mock draft.
Yes,
I think last week. And how many times is he better than DJ Wanham coming out?
Both of them play hard, which first thing I watched. I like watching them with the effort and energy they play. I think DJ was a little bit more polished right now, but I think he has a little more upside.
And DJ Wanham, by the way, is about to get a little paid in free agency.
And he was a 4th rounder?
4th rounder.
Yeah,
we took him in the 4th round.
That was one of his good picks.
Yeah.
He had many of them. I'll give him credit for that. Shh, don't tell anybody.
All right, I'm going with Javon Solomon, who was also at the Senior Bowl, played at Troy, 6'2", 250, and he is twitched up, explosive. He had, 16 sacks last year. I wish he had a better Senior Bowl practice week. When I went back and watched, he did flash at times, but I think he's going to run well here. And again, how important is this guy running a 4.49, 940, whatever? Tommy Adebaware ran a 4.49 last year. I think he ended up being a day 3 guy. We went back and forth on him, but I think he's a guy that a lot of people don't know about, and that may change once they see him run here and see what he looks like with his shirt off.
By the way, kind of like have horse racing, have you like the 1 and the 1A? My other one would be the quarterback from Tulane, Michael Pratt. I think Michael Pratt's going to find his way onto the right team and the right system and be a starting quarterback and be a good starting quarterback in the NFL. I think it's got to be like a 49ers type offense. I think that would be perfect for him.
I'm laughing because doesn't that fit any quarterback except for Trey Lance, it turns out?
No, I just think I think there's a little more to him than he's getting credit for. His arm strength is better than people give him credit for. I think Pratt, having watched him from a year ago and then watched him again this year, I think Pratt's going to end up being a good 3rd round pick for somebody.
He's moving up in my books just because he's going to throw at the combine.
Okay.
That's moronic.
And he's not even crazy about Michael Pratt. He's just pushing back.
He likes Michael Pratt now, though. You liked him at the Senior Bowl.
I liked him a little bit better than
Senior Bowl
that I liked on tape. I didn't like him on tape as much.
Because you have to see these guys in person, Pete. That's the point of the conversation.
You watch the tape. You can see the tape. You just got to know what you're looking for.
Oh, okay. That's the problem. That's where I mess up. Mac Jones screwed me yet again. All right. Which Senior Bowl standout will carry over their performance and keep rising up draft boards? Rick, you and I were at the Senior Bowl. Pete chose not to go because he didn't need to. He could sit at home and watch the tape. Pete, your guy, this guy, actually, Rick and I both like Darius Robinson, the edge rusher, but he can move inside too if you want out of Missouri.
I watched some of his tape this week. He's got some stuff to him, and he's a big physical kid. That's the amazing thing about him. He's you don't have a lot of guys that big rushing the passer. He's a big physical presence. He's going to be a 1st rounder. I mean, he's not a 2nd-day guy. He's a 1st rounder.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he was a 2nd-day guy when you watch the tape of Missouri, and then what he did down at the Senior Bowl, especially showing ability to rush the passer in line, gives him a lot of flexibility to move him up and down the line at the next level. He'll make an instant impact as an inline pass rusher.
Do you have a Rolodex comp for him? I don't know. He feels like a tweener, and I don't know if there are a bunch of tweeners that. You have one?
Yeah, I kind of compared him a little bit to Trey Hendrickson.
Oh, what do you think of that?
Big physical, tough guy. That's a good comp.
I tell you what, Pete must be on medication because he said 2 nice things about you.
He rushes more from the inside than Trey Hendrickson does, though.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about that motor and that style.
Yeah, he plays hard, tough. He's a good player.
All right. I mean, I'm glad that you guys are nice to one another. How about one of you guys be nice to me?
Okay.
When I say something.
Okay.
First up, you probably love this guy, if I had to guess. I don't know anyone who doesn't love Rick's guy. in terms of guys that are going to carry over the Senior Bowl performances here. Jackson Powers Johnson, the interior guy.
He didn't
Oregon.
play. He got hurt in the Senior Bowl.
He practiced. If you would have known,
He practiced
you
2
should have been
days
down
and then
there
he went
watch
home.
practice.
He practiced 2 days and went home.
DeJuan Jones practiced 1 day last year, and if he had gotten
Right.
weighed, he'd have been a third.
No,
second round pick.
I love the kid, by the way. That's a good pick.
Yeah, no, he, I think, can play center or guard. I think he's a day one starter. The thing that impressed me the most, he's still a young kid, but he's one of the centers. And I know you said I take small centers, but I think he's going to be able to match up against some of these big nose tackles just with his natural power and his lower body explosion. Also, for a young kid, just how polished he was in pass protection down there. Now, everybody has a few things that they can always work on, but I think this kid, and I was a big John Michael Schmidt
You were.
in Tippmann last year from Wisconsin.
Yeah, I wasn't.
I think this, yeah, well, you were wrong again, but this kid's going to come
He had a
in
bad year.
and he will be, I think, solidified himself not only as a first rounder, but maybe the first interior offensive lineman
I
off
was
the
gonna
board.
say, so Steelers just got rid of Mason Cole. They cut ties with him. Their center. If Jackson Powers Johnson's there at 20, Pete, you taking him?
I would
Be the
consider
Steelers?
him.
I wouldn't even consider. It's like I'm running my card up there.
And I'll tell you another team that you should consider him. 17,
Who's that?
Jacksonville. They need a center.
Okay.
They drafted the kid a couple
Luke
years ago.
Fortner.
Fortner, he's been terrible, and so they need a center.
We always talk positively on this show.
No, you get no filter here. I like that. That's a good one. I think he's going to be a big time player. By the way, Brandon Thorne, who does a lot of offensive line stuff, he's really good at what he does. I enjoy his little takeaways when he watches with the offensive lineman. I watched the one he was with him. That kid's got some nasty to him.
Yeah, he does.
I like it. I like the pick.
And he's only 20, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's only going to get better. All right, my pick, Rick, earmuffs for you, Spencer Rattler. He was the best quarterback at the Senior Bowl. He was the best quarterback at the Senior Bowl.
Every year in the draft, there's a guy that Ryan somehow can't cut away from. You just can't get away from him. Look, I'm with you on where you think Spencer Rattler should go.
Bottom of the third, early fourth.
A little later than that, maybe fourth, fifth. But
Aiden O'Connell went in the fourth round. He's not as good as Aiden O'Connell.
Aiden O'Connell made better decisions in pressure situations during the game.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But I think you're right about the fourth or fifth round. I think you're a little hard on Spencer Rattler. I don't think he's as bad as you
He
portray
liked him
him.
at the end of the Senior Bowl. He doesn't like to talk about that.
Yeah, okay, but then this is Pete saying, well, these guys shouldn't be like participating at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah,
that's
Spencer
not what I said.
Rattler and Pratt
guy like Spencer
actually
Rattler and Pratt
helped
need to
themselves
participate.
while they were down there at the
They're
Senior
not top
Bowl.
draft
You're
picks.
talking out of both sides of your mouth
they're not
again.
top draft picks. They need to participate.
All right.
But I think the other thing, and Rick, you can talk to this, it sounds like, from what I've heard, and I haven't talked to a lot of people about it, but he's matured too, which is important given where he was coming out of high school, and he was considered sort of a jerk, and then how things ended at Oklahoma, and he's understood that he has to be more humble. Does that weigh at all?
Yeah, no, everybody's going to mature. Unfortunately, I haven't matured.
I was going to
even though
say,
I've
neither
been-
have I.
Waiting on you two.
That's not going to happen. But I would say when a good is good, it's really good. But when a bad is bad, it's really bad. There's no in between.
He
with
can
him.
throw the football. There's no question
about the natural physical
Right,
gifts.
he can throw the football.
All right, before we go to break, I'll ask you, you have the middle pick in the fourth round. You taking, who's the guy from Tulane? Michael Pratt, or are you taking Spencer Rattler?
Pratt.
Say Bo Nix happens to be there. I don't think he will be. Bo Nix, Spencer
I don't love
Rattler.
Bo Nix's game.
Okay, I'm just asking.
I'll be honest with you.
You guys are taking Pratt over.
I would take Pratt
both those
over.
players?
I would take Pratt over
Okay.
Bo Nix.
I would
But you
take
know,
Bo
I'm
Nix
usually
over
on the
Pratt.
island when it comes to the quarterback.
Yeah.
I like Pratt too, but I think fourth round, late third.
We were all. I was on the island last year, alone by myself,
Alan, I
and you
missed the
two were
toys.
like.
Well, when you say Will Levis should be the number one overall pick, you're
Oh,
going
I
to
asked
be
him
on
that
it.
earlier. Tell him, Pete.
What?
In this draft class, where's Will Levis for you?
Where is he?
Yeah, where are you ranking him?
Right near the top.
Say it. Be decisive.
Right near the top. I'm not backing away from that.
Number one?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, you're going to take Will Levis over. Now you're
you know
being
what?
insane.
Will Levis
over Caleb Williams or Drake
Will Levis
Mayer or
didn't
Jaden
cry on his
Daniels.
mom after a football game.
All right. Well, Debo's going to cut this, and you can deal with the Twitter push.
I don't care.
All right. Well, that's good.
I don't
because-
like that. I'll be honest. I'll say it right now. I don't like. What's the
The
reason
kid
the kid
has
was?
emotion. It means something to
Why
him.
was he crying after a game that
was
didn't mean
upset.
anything? It wasn't his last game. It wasn't. It was a loss.
Because he puts everything in during the week into that game and into that performance.
That's ridiculous. Shouldn't be crying after a football game.
There is crying in football, Pete. All right, we're going to take a quick break when we come back. Pete's going to tell us who his favorite wide receiver 3 is, and I will tell you whether it's a crazy idea or not. All right, we're back. Grumpy old men here. I'm not sure which one is. Who were the 2 grumpy old men?
Walter
Matthau.
Walter Matthau and the other one.
Who was the other one?
I don't know.
All right.
George Burns. No.
George Burns, yeah. All right, here we go. Who establishes themselves as wide receiver 3? And Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors, you can put them in any order. I think all of us have them. Marvin number 1. Petey? You gonna take Malik Neighbors as your number 1?
He is my number 1.
Okay. I mean, are you going to push back a lot on that? I get it.
He's got a little more wiggle for me.
No.
I like a little more wiggle.
The only thing I would push back is because he's going to compete. And he competed.
Oh, okay.
But you have to admit, he has a little more wiggle than Marvin
Harrison. He does. But you don't believe you haven't seen him. How big Marvin Harrison Jr. is. He is a physical specimen.
We were at the CJ Stroud Pro Day. You weren't there. And
what are you talking about, how big?
He is a man.
Okay, how big?
He's going to be 6'3", 6'4". He's going to be about 215 pounds.
He's A.J. Green.
Yeah, he's a smoother athlete than A.J. Green.
He's A.J. Green. But no, I think Neighbors, I think it's close, okay?
That's fine.
There are some things that bother me about Marvin Harrison's game. But Neighbors has more wiggle. I like the wiggle.
But the other thing is that he got Justin Jefferson as the number 5 wide receiver in that draft class, which is also...
He loved Jalen Reagor, too, so he got lucky.
Don't put words.
All right, so both you and Rick agree on the
first 2. Whatever way you put them, they're the first 2.
But neither one of you, I have Rome Odunze. I'll go first. I love Rome Odunze's game. Pete, we talked about it. You're exactly right. He got a lot better from 2021 to 2022. Credit to him. And he made all sorts of catches, and I don't know why you guys would ding Michael Penix Jr. for that, but whatever. That's a conversation for another time. I think he's a special talent. Would you take Rome Odunze top 15?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And would you take Rome Odunze that high?
I like another guy.
Okay, well, 4 guys can go in the first 15. That's a lot for wide receivers. But
that's too many for that position.
It could be. You and Rick both like Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU, who is. Let me ask you this: you like the wiggle of Malik Neighbors? Can Brian Thomas Jr. do anything other than go routes?
Well, it wasn't asked to do a lot, but he can do it. Okay. I think once he gets with a good, like if he got with Keenan McCardell in Minnesota as a route runner and teach him the routes, I think he'd be fine because he's got the ability to do it. You see him do it. I think there are times when he just gets a little lax. Don't you think?
I think the thing about him is that he needs route refinement, but when you see him with the ball in his hands after the catch, you see that he's not stiff through his lower body.
Right.
I mean, he can bend. He can make a move in space. He's just so fluid, and it makes everything on tape
big,
so easy. And he's big. And look what he done in the red zone this year.
Yeah,
what do you average? 17 yards a catch? Isn't that
it's crazy what this kid has done. And everybody, talk about Neighbors, which is deserving. But it reminded me a little bit when Jefferson and Chase were together in LSU. Right. 2 great receivers, and both of them end up being pretty good pros.
With a quarterback who transferred in and wasn't as good and didn't play like he did when he got to LSU. It's the same type of situation.
Right.
And by the way, to fast forward to next year, number 2, keep an eye on him. He's the other wide receiver that's on that LSU team. He transferred in last year, and he has talent too. So for a draft for next year, but Thomas is number 3 for me. I like guys.
I've learned that, especially after the Justin Jefferson draft, you don't know. You don't know how it's going to work out. And I don't even remember who was the first wide receiver taken in that draft, the Justin Jefferson draft.
Well, Chase was in that. No,
it was CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee was early.
CeeDee Lamb.
Okay, he's a great wide receiver as well. I think one went before CeeDee.
The kid that went to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Henry Ruggs.
Henry Ruggs.
He was the first one because he was the fastest.
And then Reagor.
And Reagor went to Debo's Eagles. And then Brandon Ayuk went after Justin Jefferson. Yeah. So, and it turns out that Justin Jefferson and Brandon Ayuk, CeeDee's up there too. But those are the 3 best wide receivers in that class. You don't know.
Yeah, wide receiver is a hard position to evaluate because you got to learn how to run routes, and can you run without thinking? That's the toughest part. These guys in college, they know where they're going because they don't see a lot of coverages. You get in the NFL, you got to play to the coverage, and when you're playing to the coverage, are you playing fast without thinking? It's such a hard thing to do.
I think you mentioned this last year on the podcast. Was there something that the analytics department figured out in terms of the demeanor of the wide receivers that work best?
Yeah, the receivers that have the highest grade in social maturity are the ones that have the best success rate in the NFL.
Do you buy that, Pete?
Well, it means they can react and see things. So
I know you're sort of iffy on that stuff.
There's certain things you can read through a guy because you know this. in the NFL, if a guy's thinking and not playing fast because he's not reacting to the coverage, you're going to see that. It's going to show up, and all his speed is going to be lost. But if he knows what he's doing and understands he can play fast through all that, you're going to see the same guy. So that's the toughest transition. Every receiver, if you ask him, every receiver you ever talk to, the toughest transition is reading the coverages on the run and understanding where to go.
Yeah.
And having a quarterback think of the ball, like Mac Jones.
Like Kellen Mond.
All right, you're off. Get off. Get off the set. All right, lastly, before we get out of here, and this would have worked perfectly for that, getting you out of here. Who runs the fastest, Pete? We'll start with you. The big thing is the 40 times. Rick, I'll ask you again before I get to Pete's answer. Does the 40 times matter or not?
I think it does for certain positions, but with analytics, it's being able to break down the 40 times. So for corners, the flying 20, which is from the 20 to 40, is more important than the actual 40 time. You know, we talked about the offensive lineman, the first 10 yards are most important time. You know, we found out defensive end and pass rushers, the first 20 was the most important rather than a total 40. So analytics has been able to take that 40-yard time and break it down to what part of that 40-yard time is most important by position specific.
Well, we know what's not the most important. If they had you time in the 10, we know that wasn't very important.
So let me ask you this, because we saw a clip. One of the guys that he was really down on, he did not like to give way on. Kobe Turner was one of them, but Puka Nacua, we called him Puka Spielman by the end of the.
You should have seen him on Sundays. He would never admit that the guy was a darn good receiver.
He's a good player. I'm just saying.
Every week he'd catch like 8 for 120, 8 for 130 touchdown, and he'd sit there and go, well, he's just, wait till they figure him out. This is like at week 5, it was wait till they figure him out. They never figured him out,
week
did
18.
they?
But I wanted to say that there was a clip on Twitter after he got all the accolades he got after the season where you see Les Snead and Sean McVay on draft day when they're going to take him in the 5th round talking about his time speed, play speed.
Right.
Is that stuff that you looked at?
Yeah, because you looked at the time speed, which I don't know if he timed, but if he timed, he didn't.
It wasn't fast, 4.55, I think.
But the one point that we talked about during our podcast during the year is when he ran that post route and ran by
against the Browns.
Against the Browns and ran by the safety. That's a difference between play speed and time speed.
All right, all that said, what do you want to say?
Well, again, we go back to Jerry Rice. Time speed wasn't great. Play speed was unreal. I mean, nobody caught Jerry Rice. As soon as he caught the slant, you knew he was gone.
Larry Fitzgerald didn't time well, I don't think.
But he never played. I mean, he was a good receiver, but he didn't play like
touchdown in the Super Bowl.
But he didn't play like Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice
no,
put
that's fair, but he
fear
didn't,
in you.
He didn't play 4.6.
No,
we're doing a podcast, Rick.
Bless you.
Bless you. All right, let me.
My allergies to Pete are starting to kick in, so we got to wrap this up here pretty quick.
All right, Pete, who runs the fastest this week?
What do you got for me over there? You got
Tyler
my defensive
Owens,
back.
Texas Tech.
Yeah, you got
star.
my defensive back from Texas Tech. Look, he's not a top prospect, but he's a former track guy.
10.29 in the 100.
Yeah, so I'll put my money on him.
Boy, here we go.
Just because they run a 10.29 in 100 doesn't mean they're going to run a fast 40. Some of those fast times in 100, it takes some build-up speed.
I know.
So
but he's also run some 60s too.
Okay.
And was a 60-meter champ. Somebody I saw too.
So he probably is a day 3 guy when you watch him.
Right.
But it doesn't mean he won't run fast.
He runs. He plays fast. He's just not a great player.
No.
And we're doing bold predictions. Are you doing bold predictions with us too?
No.
All right, we'll just make that one of your bold predictions. We'll see if you come true.
What do you got?
All right, I'll go. I have Anthony Gold, who I talked about on the podcast last week. Look at it; he makes faces.
Every time you say something, he rolls his eyes at it.
Every time, it doesn't matter who it is.
I figured this out early.
Yeah, it's not a mystery. So he's a smaller receiver. That's one of the reasons he doesn't like him out of Oregon State. Has returnability, and Ricky does have some juice. You'll agree with that?
I do agree. He is fast.
He's concerned that his catch radius is T-Rex catch radius, and that's fair.
But you got to remember, any receiver who's not 6'2", he doesn't like.
He's not 6'2".
He doesn't like.
He's a tough player, and let's be honest, DJ Uyunglele wasn't exactly throwing darts every single time he dropped back. So this guy had to make some tough catches. Rick is looking at me like he does not want to hear another word.
But he could
be a good Saturday pick.
That's not that. But he might. Will he have a chance to break the 40? Be the 40 champ?
No.
Okay, your guy's going to be.
Who's your guy?
Who is your guy?
Who is my guy?
Jalen Wright, running back out of Tennessee. He was a good player.
Yeah,
he's actually a good player. He might end up being a second round pick.
You think so?
I think that he's going to perform very well at the combine.
He's got a little juice.
I think you'll have an opportunity to see him catch the ball. But I think this guy, when you see him break stride in the open field, that this guy can go. And for a bigger guy, not the little small guys that you want to make the fastest guys in America at the combine. I'm going to go with a bigger guy that I think is going to run just as well or not better than those two guys you came up with.
But he's a better football player than those two guys.
Yeah, this guy's going to make an impact.
Yeah, he's going to be a good player.
You guys are just trying to go back and look at who was a track athlete in high school. I'm trying to look at a football player
that's not the question.
Going to be fast.
That's not the question. That's not the question.
Well, Debo didn't, again, put the
he goes over there minding his own business and he just catches
what
phrase.
It was. If you want to just do track athletes, Debo, then just say that in the.
That's not what he said. The question was who's going to run the fastest 40.
This guy's going to run the fastest 40.
Okay.
One of the fastest 40.
Not one of the fastest 40.
Okay,
you're amending it.
The fastest 40 over 200 pounds.
Okay. Asterisk.
All right. Do you think he has a chance to be running back 1? Have you looked at all the running backs yet?
I haven't looked at them all, but I think he has a chance. I like the kid from Florida State.
Can Trey Benson be despite the injury history?
Yeah, I do. I think that it's incredible with the type of knee injury that kid had and the way he played this year. I think he's going to be another guy that really surprises you with his speed.
With the running back position, Brooks had a chance to be one if he hadn't got hurt.
It's ACL though.
I know, that's what I mean. So he can't be. Benson has.
I'm saying it's not a big deal, the ACL, because you can come back from that now.
Yeah, but still, you wouldn't draft him.
Running back and an ACL.
Okay. All right.
It's a concern. And then Benson has a chance. I love the kid at Tennessee. And I want to see what the big kid at Wisconsin
Braylon
runs.
Allen. I was going to ask you about
everybody's
him.
See what he runs.